What's up, everyone? Welcome to the second episode of the Shanks Unleashed podcast. I am Andy Stowe. He is Eddie from Mackworth and the star of the Bill Shanks Show that you can stream weekdays from 3 to 7 on the superstations.com. Bill Shanks. Bill, what's going on, man?
How are you? What y'all up to?
Just getting ready to talk a little, maybe some Dogs and some Braves, and then if we can stomach it, some Falcons. How about that?
Well, since you asked, I'm not that good, actually. I've been better. And let me explain why. I'm going to start this show right off the bat. So Bill Shanks runs a show from 3 to 7 on the Superstations every day. Does a great job. I've been a loyal listener for years. I call him a good bit, and he takes my call. It's very gracious, and it's a ratings boost if you want to know the truth. Yesterday, I drove to Macon, promoted one of his sponsors, had lunch at Famous Mike's, tweeted it out. And then I proceeded to call Bill's show yesterday. And I was bumped. I was hung up on. So you know what I did? I called the Paul Feinbaum show, and he let me right on the air, and I was able to speak to Paul.
Well, he's got more open lines than I do. What am I going to say? More people calling my show, and I got better hair.
He was very nice. And by the way, today I'm driving home from work, right? I do work.
Listening to Paul Feinbaum, right? Were you listening
minding my own business, as I always do, and I hear Bill and a caller ripping me on the air. A caller who's probably 100.
Hey, caller. Let's be more specific about that caller. Ken from Cumming.
Ken from Cumming, who's Dodger breath, okay? But, Bill, you were part of it.
Speaking of
me a new one for yesterday, and I didn't appreciate it. So, to be honest with you, this should be called the Eddie Unleashed podcast tonight. That's how I feel.
Okay. All right, little whiny bitch. Let's start. Let's go now. Come on.
I mean, he's talking to you already.
I will put you first in line tomorrow when you call and give your prediction, because last week you gave the best prediction, if I remember correctly.
And I was laughed at by many of your callers and yourself.
Well, I don't know. Did I laugh at you?
Well, you were like, that sounds good, but I don't see it happening. Something along those lines.
You said Georgia 41-17. How about that?
That's pretty good.
41-17. That's pretty good. I said 37-21. Paul Meharry called in because we had to bribe him to listen to my damn show.
We had to guilt him. Yeah.
Where's he at? We don't even have him here tonight. Paul's just.
I know.
Man.
What was his guess?
35-24.
Yeah.
Let's see. Ken and Cumming said 27. Oh, man. How about let's rip and Ken and Cumming one? He said 27-21. He thought it was going to be close.
27-21?
But he called late in the show, so you know what that means, Eddie.
Yeah. Larceny was gone.
Yeah. So, and of course, the only one who said Ole Miss would win was Danny in Savannah, but he's a dumb Gator fan. Hey, there's Paul. Paul's there.
Hi, Paul.
Paul, hop in. We got a link for you, dude. Go ahead and click that link.
35-24. So, we all were. Now, Ken Killer in Macon said 37-34. We were all a little worried about that.
Jeez.
And Andy said 34-20. Not too bad, Andy. Not too bad.
That's not bad. Yeah.
Yep, not too bad. So anyway, it was a butt kicking, and it was a pleasure to watch. Just I love this team. I tell you, I keep on saying it. It's like I don't know whether it's because they're kind of the underdog, and there's no Stetson, and there's no Jalen Carter, and there's no top 10 draft pick. You know, Amarius was talked about for a while, but man, this is a team that's getting better, and it's scary how good they are. It really is. Don't y'all believe that?
Yeah. Well, Bill, I'm gonna jump in here because I've been thinking about this. And last year, I went to the Oregon game. I'm sure you did too. Mm-hmm. And I was absolutely blown away. That's the best game I've ever watched. That was almost, like you said, that was almost a perfect game.
Yeah.
Okay. And we talk about, can Georgia really be perfect? That was as close as you can come.
Right.
And after that game, it seemed to me they were chasing that game. Okay. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it seemed like they were the whole season trying to get back to that game. Now, there's things that happen in the season. There's injuries, there's parity, there's whatever, you know. And they finally got back to it at the TCU game and destroyed TCU 65-7. This year, we don't have that benchmark. We really don't. It's been a struggle. Struggle is a strong word. It's been
a challenge.
It's been injuries. It's been challenges. It's been a new quarterback. a new OC, all these kinds of things. Okay.
Right.
I'm with you, Bill. Other than me having a stroke on Saturdays and my liver destroyed watching this team, this has really been fun because we watched them grow up every week. Carson Beck, Ladd McConkey, Brock Bowers, C.J. Allen. All these kids are growing up right in front of our eyes. And I think it culminated last week against Ole Miss. They laid the wood. And I'm sorry, that's a number 9 team in the country. This is not some patsy, okay? We beat their ass. And I see even better things coming going forward. I'm with you, Bill. I love this team, the way they've done it.
So would Ole Miss beat? So they're the 9th team, and of course you start hearing, well, Georgia hasn't beaten anybody. Would Ole Miss beat Penn State? Because that's the one that everybody just keeps giving Michigan and Ohio State. They say, oh, that's a great win. I don't see it as a great win. I think Ole Miss would blow them out.
I do. I
think Mizzou would completely destroy that team.
I think you look at, I don't know people talk about the SEC, but you look obviously Georgia, Alabama, LSU with all the points they could score. Mm-hmm. Could those Big Ten teams keep up with LSU, for example? Missouri, a very good team. I think some Big Ten teams would have trouble with Tennessee.
I do too.
If Tennessee was clicking and doing well, it may be a high scoring game, and I think Tennessee would have a good chance to win. So, look, it's just funny because before the Florida game, it was like, all right, here come the four teams, right? And people were saying, and they were not incorrect, that Florida, Missouri, Ole Miss, and Tennessee were going to be perhaps the 4 toughest games in a row in this 2.5-year run. And so, they've just destroyed them. It's really been easy for this to happen. I know the Missouri game was a challenge, but I never thought that game was in serious jeopardy. I've never thought anything's been in terribly serious jeopardy for a couple of years, to be honest with you, because again, 60 minutes, you can't, and we were asking this question on the show a little bit today about trying to come up with almost a pathway for Georgia to lose. That sounds stupid, but it's like the streaks are going on. So what's going to happen? I asked Brett Beard, my Alabama guest, when Alabama was going through their run where they were almost unbeatable, how did it happen? Was it self-inflicted? And he said, yes. It wasn't a team necessarily being better. It was Alabama having a game where they just kind of wet the bed. This team doesn't wet the bed. This team has the least amount of penalties per game in the SEC. This team is structured, and Paul's colleague at UGAsports.com, Brent Rollins, is so good about talking about how when you see some of these plays of how well coached this group is, and I'm telling you, to me, it leads up back to where I was talking about with Chip Towers today on the show, and that is Kirby Smart, Will Muschamp, and Mike Bobo. And I'm not trying to knock Glenn Schumann, and I'm not trying to block out McClendon either. But when you got your coach and your 2 coordinators that are all UGA guys, all Georgia Bulldogs, bleed red and black. Yeah, man. Who can compete with that? So this is a well-coached team. They're able to take good players and get the most out of them. There's going to be first-round draft picks. Malachi Starks is going to be a first-round pick. Brock Bowers is, but it's not like the last couple of years. It's different. Yeah. But you put all that together. It's like the composite of this team and the depth. And I tell you, I keep on going back to the fact that all these guys have been hurt at some point. We started really with Smile Monday. And people were like, I remember in August when it came out, I think it was the first day of camp. Paul can correct us on this. I think it was the first day of camp where it was like, well, Small Monday may miss the first couple of games. Yeah. And everybody was like, okay, that'll be all right. That won't be a problem because you've got Xavier Story, you've got Jalen Walker, you've got players who could step right in there. So you go from that, you've got Dejon Edwards, you've got Milton, you've got Amarius Mims, you've got then Brock Bowers, Javon Bullard. And it's like they've been able to compensate for those injury issues with players who are really good. And of course, the latest is when Jamon Dumas-Johnson was out and CJ just steps in there like it's no big damn deal.
He looked like an
MVP.
Oh gosh, he looked so good. He, like I said, I sent Paul and Eddie a text. I was like, this guy looks like Nakobe Dean, Roquan Smith, and you can even, when back when guess when Jarvis Jones was here, when he played that Florida game. I always remember that Florida game. I had, just kept seeing that because he could run side to side. He looks different. He looks, even Herbstreit was praising him. So.
Yeah, you mean when he made Jordan Reed cry on the sidelines when he stripped him as he's going into the end zone?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to belabor this, but you mentioned Missouri. I just want to say this real quick. I feel sorry for Missouri because they're a year early. If Missouri was in the 12-team playoff this year, oh my, who would want to play that team right now? They are dangerous. I would not want to play them in a 12-game playoff for sure.
Well, and that's why SEC teams need to understand, especially with the divisions going away, that you don't necessarily have to be one of the top 2 teams to make it to the final 12. And that if you are going, let's say even if you're on the road, if you're at Oklahoma or if you're at Michigan or if you're at Washington, or you can still win a game. And a team like Missouri, a team who would want to play LSU. I mean, I know FSU beat them earlier in this year, but I mean, I would be scared to death if I was one of those teams to play LSU because Jaden Daniels may be the best player in the country. He may go off on your defense. So, it's interesting to see how this SEC is, but I think Georgia just continues to get better each week. It's amazing to see the development. I think that's what people are really learning more about, the well-coached players on this team and how these guys do their job and how they get these players prepared to a certain extent every week. And it's just I'm enjoying this season as much as the last 2. I really am.
And they're getting better every week. That's the thing. They clearly getting better.
So I want to ask you a question, Bill, and I think you've talked a little bit about this to Brent Rollins and your other guests on the air. And I've been a proponent of this or questioned this forever since I started watching college football. And you watch the defensive line rotate in. That's just kind of a common thing. You're rotating bodies in continuously. So you got to have the depth to do that, obviously, but that's kind of a common thing. You can go to the offensive line, and it's always like, well, the offensive line has got to gel. Those 5 guys got to stay healthy the whole year, and they've got to play together and gel. Well, that's not what happened Saturday. Kirby Smart rotated in 3 guards and 3 tackles all night long. It was incredible. Never happened. That is totally unprecedented. And by the way, it wasn't like there was a drop off when he rotated somebody in. They were blowing Ole Miss off the line. Okay, so that to me was my favorite part of the game. He did exactly what I've been thinking in my head you can do. And the problem with that, Bill, is you can't just do that on other programs because the drop off from the starter to the guy below him is, this far. Well, our guys are right here. It's incredible, Bill. And it goes back to his press conference when he took over the program. We got to beef up the offensive line. Go.
That was at the Georgia Center. I was up in the little booth watching it, and that was one of the first things he said. He was like, "We've got to get the offensive line bigger."
And you know what? That's because I think Andy and Eddie, just 2 months earlier, his Alabama Crimson Tide had come to Athens and they whipped their ass.
Yeah.
And he saw it firsthand. That was a painful loss for Georgia fans in 2015. But you know what? It was almost like it was worthwhile when you look back at it.
Yeah, for sure.
Prepared that coach to know firsthand that the first thing he had to do was to beef up that line of scrimmage. Chip Towers and I were talking about this today and said, well, you got to remember the first year was a struggle because he had to go grab Tyler Catalina
from Rhode Island.
Yeah. Right, before he could really get who he wanted, like the big guys who were coming in, Isaiah Wilson and Andrew and all the others. But you're right. It's that gap that's just not there. I mean, a week ago, people were talking about Ernest Green and not dog cussing him, but saying, well, and he does need more time. He does comparatively, but did you watch him just manhandle those 2 defenders on one play and just absolutely blow them away? I mean, that's going to be your starting tackle next year, you know? And then, no, I don't. And I looked today and when Chip and I were talking about this, because again, it's like when Trent Sturdivant got hurt, they were screwed.
Yeah.
We totally were absolutely screwed. And in 2008, listen to this. So in 2008, this is what I have the offensive line being.
Oh, gosh.
Ben Jones, the center. Kevin Perez from Miami, who was a flop behind him. Chris Davis and Cordy Glenn, the guards. Cordy Glenn was pretty good.
Yeah, he was.
Clinton Bowling, who obviously was better in the NFL than he was at Georgia, to be honest.
Yeah.
and Josh Davis, who didn't really do anything, Keontae Tripp, who I don't think lasted. They got 9 offensive linemen on this list. Chip said today, I think there's 18 offensive linemen. This guy just knows where the winning starts, and he learned that from Alabama. And so that's what's unbelievable about this team. You're right. The gap is not there. You go, and when Trenton Sturdivant went out, they were screwed. Most teams, when you lose an Amarius Mims, you're screwed.
Yeah.
You don't have that bulk. You don't have that experience. And now Georgia has that. And you're right. Rotating those 3 guards and 3 tackles in, unbelievable. It really was. And by the way, Stevie T, I owe you an email back. I apologize for that. But he's right. Who wants to play us? Who wants to play Georgia?
That's a great point.
And again, who can match? I've asked several people, who can beat Georgia? What is the team that has the best chance of beating Georgia? And I mean, I don't know the answer to that.
I think that answer is probably Alabama. That's who I would look at. But I mean,
they match up well. That's going to be a war. I mean, we got to get there first, right? I mean, let's get through Tennessee and Tech, and I know we should cruise on both of those games, but that's going to be an absolute war.
But they don't have the depth. I don't see.
I kind of agree with you, Bill. I don't think that they do either. I don't think that they do either.
I just don't. I see like they're
seeing. I mean, if they lose a Dallas Turner, what happens?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'd have to ask a Brett Beard. I don't know if he'd be honest with me or not about that. But I mean, even running back and receiver, we know they've got obviously Burton. We know. I mean, they've got some receivers, but God, we've got 6, 7.
Yeah.
And if Brock were to go down, I don't think they'd be worried about having Oscar Delp and Lawson Lucky out there if they had to, even in a game like Alabama. I don't know if Alabama's got that same luxury that we've got. I don't know. I don't know if their offensive line has 6 people they can run in and out of there. So that to me is on the surface looks like the difference.
And so Amarius Mims, Brock Bowers, neither of those guys were playing for the past several weeks. And I know they both came back this week. Did we look bad? Did we lose anything, or we just kept on going?
Kept on going.
I mean, how do you do that with losing Brock Bowers, who, could be a top 10 picks, the best tight end in the league, in college, and Amarius Mims could be a top 10 pick.
You hate to say they didn't miss him.
Yeah,
And maybe if they had lost, obviously, we would have said, well, hell, they should have had Brock Bowers in there, and maybe that would have helped. But they won, and you looked at the offense and like, well, I mean, it didn't look like there was a gap there where they were missing Amarius Mims, or I mean, even with the questions people were having about Green, it wasn't like, God, he's getting beat left and right. There was some, I think, more footwork and technical stuff that people were talking about that just he needed with time. But when obviously they rotated him in and out of there perfectly well last week, and no, this is different. This is and I'm sure Alabama had whatever Alabama's best team was of their run. I'm sure it was like this.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of incredible to watch right now.
And I want to take you guys also two more things. The way Carson Beck is playing right now. Now, I'm not going to excuse him for the way he's playing, but he's not been touched. I mean, he's not being touched back there. He's got ball to pick out whoever he wants, but he's throwing darts. That pass he made to McConkey was a dart. I mean, he is playing out of his mind good, and he's in the Heisman talk. He should be if he's not already. The second thing that blew me away was to finally see a healthy Kendall Milton. My goodness, he is incredible when he's healthy. That guy's good.
Right up the gut. And the offensive line's probably helping him with that. But again, the talent of having Edwards and Milton, kind of a 1-2 punch is unbelievable, because that's really what it is. You can't count on Cash Jones or Andrew Paul, or you can't. It's just and obviously they don't think the Robinson kid's ready enough to give him significant snaps in a close game or early in the game. So he's more of a mop-up duty right now, but that's a hell of a 1-2 punch right there.
Because Milton had 127 yards on 9 carries last week. He had 2 touchdowns. Dejon Edwards, 12 rushes, 59, 2 touchdowns. I mean, it's hard to beat. With that offensive line, as good as they look, Tennessee's going to have a hard time stopping that. And I really think so. Going to the Tennessee game, Cody Schrader rushed for 205 yards against them last week. I think that's going to be. I think Georgia's going to try
over 100 receiving, over 100 receiving.
Yeah, So I think that's going to be. I think we're going to try the ground and pound game a lot. I think we may, instead of opening it up. But then again, I mean, Brady. Let's see, Brady Cook threw for 275 on him. So I mean, it looks like we can do whatever we want to do. So
well, I think ball control will be good though. I think you'll want to have the time of possession, keep them off the field to whatever they think they can do offensively against our defense, which I don't think is much. I mean, I don't think it's much. I really don't. And I think they're going to whip their ass. I really do.
The strength of Tennessee this year compared to last year matches up very well for our defense. Last year, it was Hendon Hooker and those great receivers who are now in the NFL, and they were going downfield, and we have trouble with that. Now it's Joe Milton who can't really throw the ball. They're really relying on their run game. And those three running backs and Milton running the ball. I think Kirby's going to put 8 in the box, dare him to run the ball, or dare him to pass the ball, basically, right?
Well, Humphrey getting hurt, that hurts a lot because he was coming on strong. I mean, so don't discount Dalen Everett. Everybody's just like, oh, he sucks. No, he doesn't. Okay, he doesn't suck.
What happened to Nyland Green? Where's Nyland Green at, Paul?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was wondering that too.
That's a real surprise to me. I thought he'd be right there with those two. Mm-hmm. I mean, I like Humphrey, but I really like Nyland Green, so I'm a little surprised he's not been back there. But anyway, it's like, what are you worried about? Nothing. I'm just not. I'm not. I mean, maybe there's something that changes, but could they go up there and just not show up and not look interested and play blasé?
It's Tennessee.
I can't see that. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no way they won't be up for this game. I mean, like I said, it's Tennessee. They know what's at stake here. And obviously Tennessee is going to try. They know what Georgia has at stake. They want to beat Georgia and end the streak, and they want to do all that. But I mean, Georgia knows, Kirby knows they're not gonna go up there and just lay an egg. I don't think. I think
that energy with Neyland Stadium, and the energy with the team, and this is their Super Bowl. That only lasts so long. That may
only last a quarter. Yeah.
I mean, now obviously the game flow determines a little bit of that, right? If they're up 10-0, Neyland's going to be rocking. But if it's a slog in the first quarter, the crowd's going to be like, and then Tennessee's going to be like, this is a little tougher than we thought. I just don't think that's a concern for them. I really don't.
And we got to remember this, we have bad memories of this rivalry from 89 to 99 when they won 9 in a row.
Oh, yeah.
Since 2000, it's 17-6 Georgia.
17-6.
So 17 out of the last 23 games Georgia has won. That's pretty dominating. And obviously a lot of those had to be at Neyland, and if not for the miracle they had with Josh Dobbs, it would be even worse, right? Because that was a miracle.
That was the last win they've had against Georgia, right?
Yeah, I think
2016.
Kirby's first year.
Yeah, Georgia's won 6 in a row, so that was the last one. Yeah. 11 out of the last 13. So I mean, we totally flipped this series, and I mean, I hate him. I hate Peyton Manning. He's a 5-head, and I hate Philip Pat fucking Fulmer. He's a piece of shit on the bottom of your shoe, and I can't stand all of them. And God bless Brenda Lee, but the hell with her for singing that song.
100%.
And Dolly Parton. I mean, she's
Dolly. I mean, she got those fake titties, and she's going to be up there singing. And the bad thing is, if she took her wig off, she probably looked like Shelley Winters.
Yeah, that's true. So I think you're.
Oh my gosh! And the show's been derailed, Andy.
We got cut off again. Well, yeah, I think I really do think that Georgia's going to dominate this game. I don't think we have much to worry about, and I just don't see, unless Georgia goes and has 3 or 4 turnovers. I don't see anything that they can do to us. So.
Hey, let me share something with you guys.
Okay.
I don't know if y'all saw this college football playoff top 5 teams. Okay, I'm not going to give them an order, but this is the points per game differential. Okay, Ohio State plus 5.5, Michigan plus 9. Florida State plus 19.5, Washington plus 6.7, Georgia plus 27.3.
Really?
Is there a disparity there or what?
Yeah, just absolutely beating the crap out of people.
That's playoff versus top 5 teams. I mean, that's just ridiculous. They're just kicking everybody's ass at this point.
They are.
And it's going to continue.
Well, you can think the Auburn game, obviously, that kind of kicked them into a new gear. I think most people thought that was going to happen because they had crappy games in the first 4 weeks. They had 3 cash for clunker games in South Carolina, which is on the verge of it being a cash for clunker itself because they suck. Then you go to Auburn, you know it's going to be crazy. You know they're going to be calling Carson's great-grandmother every name in the book and every other woman in his family, and he stood there like a champion and pretty much told them to piss off. And he was outstanding, and he did his job, and he was in control the entire game. I don't care how scared they think they had us at halftime. Again, 60 minutes, and look, if Tennessee jumps up, okay, but remember,
we're kind of used to that, aren't we? I mean, that's the way we operate.
Even Kirby talks about it in his interview. He's like, yeah, well, you knew they were going to score on the opening drive.
Yeah. And you know what? They were up 20-7 on Alabama at halftime, and all those crazy ass volunteer fans were going ape shit thinking they were going to beat Alabama, and Alabama was calm on the sideline and just totally whipped their ass the second half to where Heupel could do nothing but chew his gum with his mouth open. It looked like a moron. So, I think they're going to win easily.
So you mentioned Auburn. I'm going to throw this out here right now. I think Alabama's going to have their hands full with Auburn in 2 weeks out there. It's going to be – they're looking at Georgia, thinking about that. I know Saban is the best coach ever in the history of college football, but Auburn's playing better, and they want that game. Just saying.
My boy Chris Hefner keeps on telling me that they're going to give – excuse me, guys, they're going to give Alabama some trouble, and they might. And I think you're right. They got to be careful about that because – and I asked Brett Beard today, look, if Auburn does win, second loss for Alabama, first in the conference, and then Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC championship, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
It's like a close game, and, I don't think he had an answer because I don't think we know. Logic would tell me both teams probably do deserve to be there, but would they take a 2-loss Alabama SEC champion team over a 1-loss Pac-12 or Big Ten or ACC champion with one? I don't know.
Yeah, that's
some of that. He did make a good point though. Some of them may come clear this weekend with Texas, and Washington. They got 2 tough games, so those 2 could easily lose, and that kind of opens things up. But
and plus Washington and Oregon, they'll have to play each other again too. So
absolutely. And Florida maybe what if Florida pops Florida State? I mean, that would save their season, right? I mean, because they're. I think.
Where is that game, Andy? Sorry to put you on the spot.
I'll find out.
I thought
Florida's going to lose this week.
Florida. That's at the Swamp.
Okay. So they're at Missouri this week. So if they lose there, they're 5-6. So you go to the Swamp, bowl game on the line, and you can ruin their season. Holy cow!
And I'd say that's the savior coach's job too, because Napier could get fired.
I don't think. It's only 2 years. I just can't imagine.
His recruiting class is taking a hit. I still think DJ. I think DJ Lagway ends up at. I think Lagway will end up at Texas A&M with whoever the new coach is. That's what I think.
Quarterback that's committed to him. Yeah. Well, that guy Danny from Savannah said today that if they lose that quarterback, they're going to fire Napier. I can't imagine that. I mean, I don't believe that. That's just 2 years. Just who the hell are they going to get? I mean, who are they going to get? Who are they going to get? Urban and
Dan Mullen, bring him back in. Let him wear his Darth Vader mask.
Yeah, it's just kind of ridiculous, Lane says if we lose, we are out. Maybe we are, but that may make beating Tennessee's ass even more important to make that, that point differential that you were talking about, Eddie, even more impressive to where, because look, Alabama, if they do beat Georgia, it's not going to be a blowout. No. I just don't believe that. And so what if they won 28-27, something stupid like that? All right. Well, you lost you're going to keep Georgia out. They lost by 1 point. They had a 12-0 regular season, and they did play teams that were ranked. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, that resume that Georgia had previous to the Florida game was awful. It ain't awful now if we go through and lose to Alabama, like you said, by 1 point. Our resume is really strong.
What was Kentucky in the AP poll? Let me look that up.
When we played them?
Kentucky. They were undefeated, right? Kentucky had to be in the top 25.
Yeah, they were.
So Andy may beat me to it here, but I mean, I think just bringing up ESPN's thing, Kentucky was 20th on this thing on ESPN. So right now they've beaten the 20th ranked undefeated Kentucky Wildcats.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Florida was not. Florida had lost, so they weren't ranked. 12 Missouri, 12 Missouri, 9 Ole Miss.
9 Ole Miss, right.
Tennessee's 18.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be four ranked teams that they beat if they beat Tennessee this week. I mean, not bad, not awful. And if they played Oklahoma, they'd have whipped their ass too.
Yeah, I agree.
Come on. I mean, give me a break.
Everybody talks about how Oklahoma, we were scared of Oklahoma or whatever. I don't.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah,
that's bullshit.
All right, Andy, I'm gonna steal your thunder here. I'm gonna ask you, Bill, what does UGA need to do to win this game against Tennessee?
Yeah,
show up.
Just show up.
Be present. I mean, I think they take the field, hike the ball, run the ball, pass the ball. I mean, I don't think it needs to. I think Georgia just has to be themselves, and who's next? You know, kind of like Goldberg. I mean, I think there's a confidence with this team that's, boy, you can see it too. You can just see it. You can watch it on that field, like, boy, here they come. You know, even if they get scored on first, well, it's all right. Let's have the ball. And last couple of years, I've enjoyed watching the defense. This year, I want to watch the offense.
Yeah.
I want to watch that offense and see how they do, you know, and see how they just absolutely go at people. And Ladd, it's like, yes, target 84.
Yeah, he's so good. He's so good.
Gosh, he's unbelievable. I mean, he's about as confident and reliable as Brock is right now.
Yeah.
He's really good.
So is there any concern, Bill? I don't know if you watched it. Kirby had a presser after the Tuesday practice, 9-12 minutes, whatever it was. And that was the most perturbed I've ever seen Kirby. Now, he's short with the media to begin with, but he was just, every question, he just looked pissed off the whole time. And finally, at the end of that press conference, somebody asked him about the practice, and he went off. He said it was horrible. He basically said, we've had 5 great Bloody Tuesdays consecutively, and today was terrible. They were smelling themselves. I don't know what was going on. They got to fix it. So is that a concern? Do you think that a bad practice like that, and I don't know what they did yesterday or today, I haven't heard anything, does that translate to the game? Or is that just, to me, I'll just go ahead and tell you what I think. I love that Kirby called him out. And he said the leaders are going to take care of this. He said, I don't take care of this. The leaders of this team will take care of that. And I love that message. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I do too. Look, and you know how he can be. He could be doing some things, throwing some things out there to the team, saying things so the team can hear it. I'm sure they heard it if he wasn't happy. Andy might have heard it.
I heard it.
You know, but I think this time of year it's always up to the coach to continue to get them to go. I mean, look, there's got to be teams that aren't 10-0 that coaches are having to kind of manipulate to get them going because they see, oh hell, next week's the end of the regular season, right? Yeah. These guys know that Georgia has more things to do. They know that they have. I mean, they got 5 more games to play, hopefully, and so I'm not worried about it, to be honest with you. I mean, he probably was sending a message, and that was fine. But I think he's got great confidence in this team. I think he's been a little surprised by this team. Yeah, and he's that's got to make him proud, though, too, Eddie. I think he's got to be really, like we were talking about how much fun it's been to watch. I think it's really, really fun for him to see, you know, how this team is developing over time. So yeah, I think he's fine.
Yeah, I think he was gonna say it was a bad practice, even if it was the best practice they'd ever had.
You might be right, Andy. That's probably a really good point. Yeah. All right, Andy, you want to move on to the Braves?
Let's move on to the Braves because there is a lot going on right now in the Hot Stove League. So you got, one of the Braves have lost 2 coaches. Ron Washington got hired. We didn't get to talk about this last week. EY got hired as Ron Washington's third base coach. And there are 4 rumored guys to join the Brave staff. Off of house that house that Think built. So they have 4 guys listed: David Ross, Matt Tuiasosopu, Mark DeRosa, and Martin Prado. Have you heard anything about Martin Prado? Because he's not even an active coach.
No, he's not. But I mean, they love him. They've always loved him. DeRosa should come and take the first base coaching job. That would be good for him to be on that staff. It really would. The Matt Tuiasosopo was the AAA manager, and obviously that means he coached third base. I don't want a first-time third base coach. That's not an easy job. I want someone who's done it, even the minor leagues. I don't think DeRosa's ever done it before. I don't think David Ross has ever done it before because he went and managed it immediately. So I would hope there would be someone like Tui that could come in and be a third base coach immediately. I don't know who they're talking about, and we got to remember now, coaches in baseball are different from coaches in college football.
Yeah.
Brian Snicker's not necessarily going to make these decisions. He'll be involved in the decision. If it's someone he doesn't like, he'll, voice his opinion. But I mean, they make the decisions from a front office standpoint, and so we'll see what they do. I would think there would be a minority in there to replace both, Wash and Young, but they just need a good third base coach, and they want an infield coach and an outfield coach because Ron and Eric were very good at that, obviously. So you got to think about that and how they would work it. So who knows? I don't know. I mean, they probably. I mean, they knew this was a possibility, and they always knew that if Ron got a job, he would take Eric with him to be a third base coach. And so I'm sure they've had a list, in the drawer, kind of like college football coaches have had, but they're probably going over that and trying to decide and make a good decision. So, but, David Ross probably only wants to be a bench coach if he's not a manager. Walt's the bench coach. That's not going to change. And but DeRosa, all the talk about DeRosa being a future manager, he should come and be the first base coach. Yeah. That would be really, again, he's never been a third base coach, so hell no, I don't want him there. First base, that would be really good for him. I really believe it would.
Well, the third base coach, I was thinking about this today, Bill. that base coach directly impacts the ball game. I mean, you could say the first base coach somewhat. You get the guy to second, whatever, make the calls to get back. But that guy impacts scoring, runs. I mean, that's a huge deal. And Wash brought another element to it with his fielding and all that kind of stuff with him helping them on the infield. But if I had my choice, I'd take David Ross right there on the third base because he's been a manager, all right? He's hired a third base coach. He kind of knows the deal. I'm with you, but that's a big role to fill right there on the third base. And Snicker I heard him today on 680, kind of jokingly said, "You wouldn't believe the resumes I'm getting." He almost sounded like, "Bill, you could send me your resume. It'd be better than what I've been getting." He kind of laughed about it. He said it was kind of a joke. But
really? He was
yeah. You haven't asked him? Well, you might want to bring your oh, you have.
I told him I could stand at first base just
okay. Yeah. Now he was talking about third base is what he was asked about.
Yeah. So. Yeah. No, I'm sure.
But the way Brian Snitker and Alex Anthopoulos are, they've been preparing for this for years, right? They're not stupid, right?
Yeah, and there's people that Brian has worked with before, that he's managed against, that he's coached against, the major leagues and the minor leagues. I had someone reach out to me who used to be in the Braves organization who was close friends with him. And I could tell what he was doing. He was kind of trying to quiz me a little bit on, I don't know. I have no clue. But sure, they're going to have all kind of people reach out to it. And here's the thing. I wish we could ask Brian Snit, who is the best third base coach in baseball? Who is the best one at getting players in or not getting players thrown out? Let's go hire him. They may not know him, but he's the kind that knows third base coaches because he was one for so long. He could probably, if I ask him that question, he could probably say, well, so-and-so. So, I mean, there are always, back in the day, Jimmy Williams, who was on Bobby Cox's staff, was the best third base coach in baseball, bar none. You go back even further than that. Alex Grammas was on Sparky Anderson's staff in Cincinnati, then followed him to Detroit, known as the best third base coach in baseball. Danny Ozark, who was the Phillies manager in the late 70s, then he was Tommy Lasorda's third base coach. Well, he was a Giants third base coach and a Dodgers. Great third base coach. But these guys, they didn't get people thrown out, So who's the best one in baseball? Go get him. And I hope that's what they're going to do, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I think I think we need to make sure that's a big hire. I think. I mean, because again, the fielding that Wash does, that's great, but I'm not too concerned about that.
Everybody can do that.
Yeah,
they did that. But no offense to Wash, they did that before Wash got there too.
I did it in high school, and I wasn't being coached by a Braves manager. So
they may
not
have
just got highlighted. Yeah,
they may not have done on the field where everybody could see it, but that's
right.
That ain't we're not talking about rocket science here.
That's 101 baseball.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, another big thing going on right now is Bally Sports announced they're going to cease broadcasting MLB games after this year. So the Braves, it says that I guess all the teams that are on Bally Sports, it could even go back to the to the Major League Baseball. They could have the broadcast rights, or can the teams do it? So the question is, will the Braves create a Braves network similar to the Yes Network and try to get a revenue stream coming from that? And that ties into what about if they were to do that? And I think Eddie was the one that mentioned this. You have there's a certain player out there that's got a huge fan base over in Japan. Could they use that to leverage maybe going out and shining Shohei Ohtani?
Before Bill jumps in, I want to pose it this way. So Warren Buffett bought 200,000 shares yesterday of the Braves stock.
Yes.
Okay.
$8 million worth.
Right. And I went on and bought 20 shares today. What the hell? Right. Just do it.
So you bought 20 you bought 20 million shares?
That's not what I said, though. I said I bought 20 shares.
God, wait a minute. Bill, did you know that Eddie names his house now? His house's name is Betty because it's so
Anyway, can I get on with my point? Are y'all done? Or are y'all going to continue bashing me?
We're waiting. 2-hour show.
So with this opportunity, Bill, the Braves becoming like a Yes Network after Bally and becoming the Braves Network, Buffett putting all this money into the Braves. They sign Ohtani and they make it where you can get the Braves Network for $25 a month. How many Japanese people will sign up for that? And this team goes global and they make billions on top of what they're doing now. You will pay for Ohtani probably within the first year. Why don't they do this?
Well, I mean, look, the contract with Bally runs through 2027. So we're to the point now, 4 years out, where they've had to be already thinking about a video delivery system,
right?
That includes television, internet, phone, everything. I think the video delivery system is the best way to call it, to describe it. You can't say TV contract anymore. That's not, no. You have to say video delivery system contract.
Right.
So if that's where they were going to go with their own network, that would be in effect a delivery streaming service. I think that there's no question that it's a possibility. And the thought of Shohei Ohtani paying for himself is there. I think on the show, I don't know, when did that come out about John Palmarosi. So John Palmarosi came out and said the Braves, that Ohtani was intrigued by the Braves because of Acuna, and obviously both of them were unanimous.
Oh, is that why? Because of Acuna? I didn't hear that part of it.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was based a little bit on Acuna.
Oh, interesting.
And both of them were unanimous MVP selections, obviously, tonight. Yeah. Tim Kirkjian had said it before the trade deadline. Buster Olney said it at some point during the season that there was some intrigue between the two of them. So I asked on Monday some of my sources, okay, so let me just put it this way. If that is the case, if Ohtani is interested, if it's not just agent speak, if he is genuinely interested in coming to a team that he knows is going to win moving forward and has won the last 6 years, would the ownership or Terry McGurk just say, hell no, fuck that, we're not going to do it, we ain't got the money, but stop it? No. And the answer was no, that will not happen. There will be discussions. So if that's the case, if that's true, which I think it would be, that's got to be involved in the conversation. Because
they had to go through their due diligence on that.
Right. I mean, we said back, we had a show because we got all horny over this in early August after this. Like, wow, it's kind of fun to think about. And I said, look, you're talking about Babe Ruth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me that Alex didn't say at some point to some of the business people in the organization, look, guys, at some point, I want you to sit down and figure out for me if this guy can pay for himself by coming to this organization. Now, I just can't imagine that didn't happen. And so I would love to know what the answer would that be. What, how do they think from a merchandising standpoint, which there's some, sharing that goes on with the other teams when it comes to that. But I mean, I think the team controls the majority of that revenue. But that video delivery system, I mean, look, the reason they built Truist Park in the Battery is because they did not have the TV contract that the Padres had, the Dodgers had, and all those other teams had. So now we're looking at 2027, and you're talking about 2027 to maybe 2037, which it won't matter if it's in-house. It'll always be there. So you don't have to worry about an extension. And like you say, Eddie, okay, $25 a month. Well, I'm paying $25 a damn month to watch.
Damn right.
I can tell you that, That's $1 a game. You're damn right I am. I'm paying 50. I may pay 100. I mean, I don't care. If that's what I've got to pay to watch my team, that's fine. So I don't know why this couldn't be a possibility. Then you also look at the fact that, hey, look, after this season, Morton's $20 million's off the books. Hopefully
Max
he'll be gone. Max Fried's money will be off the books. That's at least 15, probably 18 million. Marcell Ozuna's money off the books. He's got an option for 2025, but it would be off the books. I mean, you got a lot of money that's going to be off the books again next year, and some of that can go to Shohei Ohtani. So I just can't imagine why that wouldn't be a possibility. I mean, look, it may be all a farce. He may not have any interest in going anywhere but Seattle, and I know he spends a lot of time out there supposedly, but if you're Alex Anthopoulos, you've got to check into it.
Can I push back a little bit on the Babe Ruth thing? Do you think his value has been downgraded a tad because it's the second Tommy Johns, and he's probably not going to pitch next year, maybe the foreseeable future, and he kind of becomes a DH at this point?
Well, yeah, sure, yes, but I think what makes him Babe Ruth to me is the fact. I mean, he's really done better than Babe Ruth. He's done it at the same time. They pitch first and then hit. This guy's done both. So, I mean, if he pitches any coming back, if he can do anything coming back, even be a fourth starter, a marginal fourth starter. I mean, in 3 years, what's that going to be worth? $15 million,
Yeah, easily. Yeah.
So, I mean, he's a two-time defending Cy Young unanimous select. He's ridiculous. So, I mean, I think, is he worth $50 million a year? Is he worth $500 million a year? Absolutely. I think he is. I would do it in a heartbeat.
If the Braves signed Ohtani tomorrow and did nothing else, it's a silly question. They're going to do other things. Nothing else. Would you be happy with that, Bill?
No. You got to have a starting pitcher.
Okay.
Got to have pitching.
I agree with you. I just wanted to see what you thought about that.
Yeah, but you do have to think of, okay, if Ohtani's coming and be the DH, does Ozuna get traded?
He would have to be traded. Yeah.
I mean, or are you going to put him in left field? Or, I mean, I would think you'd put Grissom in left field, but and I like Ozuna. I'm not like most. I like Ozuna, but where is he going to play left field, or what is he going to do? So I mean, I think you would possibly trade him for a pitcher, possibly, if he's got any value to anybody, which he should. He hit 40 home runs and drove in 100. He should have value. And he's, for a 4,100 guy, he's marginally priced.
Inexpensive compared to other players, yeah.
Because I think he's at 16 next year, not 18. I think he goes down, doesn't he?
I think so. Yeah, I think he's got 16 left. So
I think he goes from 18 this year to 16 next year, which is pretty good. So I think you got to get another pitcher, and you got to.
Excuse me, I got to let my dog out. I'm sorry. I keep talking.
Okay, I think you've got to get another pitcher. I think you've got to get another reliever as well. So, but there's things they can do. I mean, if they're going to blow it and go $50 million on one player, they got plenty of room to add another pitcher.
Right. And that's what. So I guess my question for you: let's say they did sign Shohei Ohtani, and would you, if you signed Ohtani this year, and then I still think you got to get another starting pitcher. And I don't want a back end guy. I want an Aaron Nola. I want somebody that's that good. You got to think they're looking at next year. And if they're signing if they're getting Ohtani, they're going to think he's starting the following year.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, Max Fried is gone.
Probably.
So are you good with that? Are you so because I do believe they're going to end up with Aaron Nola. It just feels like that's going to happen. But would you be good with getting Aaron Nola, Shohei Ohtani, and letting Max Fried walk?
You mean letting Max walk a year from now?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to be happy about it. I'd rather him sign, but I think I mean, you have to almost say, well, if he hadn't signed by now, he's not going to sign.
Right. And that's how I feel. Yeah.
And I still think that Alex needs to know that by the time he gets to winter meetings. Because I love trading. I hate trading him, brother, but I don't want him to walk away for nothing. And I would call Seattle or I would call Baltimore and I'd say, y'all want a big time pitcher for 2024? Here's your one, but give us something. Give us 2 starters. Give us a righty and a lefty starting pitcher, one that's ready now and one that may be ready in a year that we can have in our system because, the only thing I don't want about the pitching staff is I don't want, and it's going to happen whether I like it or not, is I don't want for Alex to go in there talking about how A.J. Smith-Shawver and Hurston Waldrop are going to be rotation options for 2024.
AAA all year.
That just does not need to happen. Yes, they need to be in AAA. Hell, Bryce Elder needs to be in AAA all year, to be honest.
The up and down kills them, doesn't it, Bill?
Yeah, it's awful. It's just awful. And it's today's game, but it's like you need to identify, and I hate to say this, Alan Winans, Dylan Dodd, and Darius Vibes and say, you 3 are going to be on the yo-yo between Atlanta and Gwinnett. Yeah. Get ready. And not have it be, look, Soroka may be gone tomorrow. We don't know. But, I mean, if Soroka comes back, they either need to put him in that rotation or trade him in spring training and get him out of there to get him some other team because they don't need to have that kid on a yo-yo. And didn't serve him any good last year. Yeah. And so, they still need pitching help. There's no question about that.
Bill, one thing you said on your show that really, really piqued my interest is you said we could actually, the way the Braves are set up, we could sign a guy like Nola and then do a trade for somebody else on top of that, like a Dylan Cease, for example. My goodness. I mean, the thought of that. I mean, 1 would be fine. The possibility of 2 there, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but it would probably take A.J. Smith-Shawver, Vaughn Grissom, and another player. Oh, I'm with you.
It's win now. I mean, we need to win now.
Right. If Dylan Cease, went to Milton High School, if Dylan Cease is available by the White Sox, I don't even have to ask. I know he'll call about that. I mean, there's no question in my mind that would happen because, and Burns is another one. Brandon just said sign Nola and trade for Burns. Look, there's no question in my mind that Alex Anthopoulos is going to talk to Milwaukee. If they're going to trade that guy, I think they'll talk about Burns. They'll talk about Cease. Cease has 2 years left. Burns has got 1 year left, so Burns will be a little cheaper. And you may have to give up Grissom but could you give up Elder for a deal with Burns for 1 year, and they be okay with Elder? Maybe. I mean, but no, I love AJ. Now, Alex loves AJ. I mean, Alex has got a little man crush on AJ right now, which is fine. That's fine. But man, I just can't imagine that getting in the way of getting Corbin Burns or Dylan Cease because that would be awesome. No question about it.
Could you imagine a starting rotation of Max Fried, Spencer Strider, Charlie Morton, and then if you were to sign Aaron Nola and then get Dylan Cease or either, Tyler Glasnow, that's one they keep talking about as well. Like, could you imagine that's a 5-man rotation of dudes? That's not just a couple of fill-ins like we've been having the last few years. That is 5 starting legit pitchers and 3 aces probably. So, I mean, that's
Morton's 5 in that scenario. You listed him as 3, but he's 5.
I just have them written down. Yeah, no.
Right, I got you.
Well, it wouldn't matter, would it? I mean, really. I mean, but the other thing is, if Ohtani is not an option, let's say they determine at some point, whenever time, all right, we're not going to get this. It was a nice dream, nice to think about, nice to write out on the paper. It ain't going to happen. Then I think they pivot to that exact scenario. I think they go even more aggressive after either Aaron Nola or Sonny Gray. Let that be the bigger acquisition as far as the free agent is concerned, and then go after Burns or Cease. And if you had those two, because I mean, put any combination of those pitchers together, and you've got the best. You got the best starting rotation in baseball, and you got the best lineup in baseball. And then you got to take your chances and see what happens.
The only thing with Glass now is his name is reflective of his career. He can't stay healthy. He's built to Glass. I mean,
he's so frustrating because he's so good.
I know when he's healthy, he's awesome.
His fingers. They showed his fingers one time, and he totally grabs the baseball.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever seen that. I was in Florida last year when he was pitching, and they did a thing on him. I mean, his hand goes all the way over the baseball and that's how he can spin it so much. That thing's got movement, but it's caused obviously problems for his arm. And he's $20 million. That would be. I mean, if they don't get one of the two big free agents, that may be. They say, well, maybe we do get Glass. But I think I'd love to get two big guys. I mean, you can say, well, maybe they get a James Paxton type, a reclamation project or something like that. But
I would be good with that if they signed Aaron Nola or
I would too. But I think you got to investigate Cease and Burns with all.
Why has it been so slow, Bill? This stovetop, what do you call it? Hot stove league. It's just been. There's almost no movement right now. I don't know. I think our teams and players just waiting.
I think tomorrow is going to be the day that sort of starts triggering everything because tomorrow is the day where teams have to tender contracts to arbitration eligible players. And the Braves currently have 12 guys that are arbitration eligible. And obviously AJ Minter is going to get a contract. Max Fried will get a contract. I think Chirinos is obviously going to get a contract.
No, he's gone.
You think he's gone?
No, they when they brought in that Penn Murphy on Tuesday, they let him go.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got Nick Anderson and then Nicky Lopez. They're going to get contracts. Colby Allard, Ben Heller. That one's I don't know. Michael Thompson.
Heller's already they outrighted Heller. He's became a free agent. So, but they've got. You're right, Andy. They've got some people that they have to make some decisions on, and. Yanni's gone. They let him go the other day. Kershaw he's coming back mid-year, Stevie T, but he'll probably go to the Dodgers. He's not going to go anywhere else. But you're right. I think they do. Tomorrow we could see some stuff. Just saw John Paul Morosi, Reds are discussing Jonathan India trade possibilities with 3 or 4 teams. But I think it has been slow because of Ohtani. I think that because people are like, all right, again, if you're a general manager and you think you got a 1% chance at Ohtani. And you're like, if I can get in front of him, by God, I'll get him to my team. And then if you think that, do you really want to go be aggressive early and lock yourself out of not being able to get Ohtani if he did say, I'm coming to Atlanta, So I wonder if that could be holding some of it up because look, November 16th, it's 2 weeks. It's slow. I think it's a little slower than normal. Because usually out of the GM meetings, we have a trade or two. We haven't had anything.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, and Mike Soroka is one of the guys tomorrow. And like I said, I love Mike Soroka. But he's projected to get $3 million in arbitration. I don't know. That's a lot of money. That, again, if you're talking Ohtani, that's $3 million is a lot of money that you can start adding. You add a couple of $3 million here and there, you got it. So I don't know. I'm concerned that Soroka is going to get DFA'd and I don't or non-tendered a contract. And I hate it because I love the guy. I just think he had so much potential. But
and
all right, we got.
I did too, and I didn't like the way they jerked him around this year. To be honest with you, I mean. When I saw him go down to AAA in late July, he was pissed. He had pitched 6 innings against Milwaukee in Milwaukee.
You hear that in his interviews, Bill. You could hear that.
Yeah, he was pissed, and I mean he was pissed. He was really upset because he thought he was turning a little bit of a corner, and I don't know what happened when he came back and got hurt. But if you're showing propensity of getting hurt, you're on the brink, man. You're on thin ice.
I hate it because, like I said, he's one of my favorite players. I just look at him like he's. Well, all right, Bill.
We got a few minutes left.
I hope you got the blood pressure medicine ready because let's do it.
Let's make this quick because I'm actually tired of beating this horse.
The Falcons lost to the Cardinals 25-23 with a quarterback that hadn't played all year. Kyler Murray, he was making his first start, went 19 for 32 for 249 yards. What do you want to see this team do, Bill? Are you just ready for them to lose every game and hopefully they get rid of the coach? Or is there anything left? Do you have any reason to watch this team anymore?
Well, It's hard to say I want the New Orleans Saints to win next week because I can't stand the Saints. They're Eddie's team, and he
That is such bullshit. I'm going to cuss right now. That's bullshit.
Woo.
That is not my team. That hurts. I was born there, but I despise that football.
I thought you smelled like that for some reason. Anyway, no, I'm kidding. I don't want him to win. I want him gone. And I there's no redeeming factor for him to stay with this team. So how is that going to be ensured? Well, lose. But you know what? I think that we don't really have to worry about that. There are winnable games on this schedule. There's no question about that. Could they go 5-2? Sure. But with this team, there's some losable games too. Could they go to New York and lose to the Jets? Yeah. They could, could they lose to, they beat Tampa Bay down there. That doesn't mean they're going to guarantee to win in Atlanta against Tampa Bay. They'll beat Carolina. I think they'll beat Chicago, but Indianapolis, I don't know. Indianapolis may beat them for all I know. So, what if they go 3-4? Well, that's 7-10. Well, hell, you're going to keep a coach that has a third straight 7-10 record when you've increased the payroll by God knows how much money? No fucking way. You got to keep him. You got to get him out of there. He is not, I keep on asking, what has he done to make you have any confidence that he's going to be a good head coach moving forward? In 2.5 years, he's not showed me anything. And I don't fall for he took a team that had bad salary cap issues and made him 7-10. Oh, great. Whip-de fucking do. You're going to give him a participation trophy for not sucking as much as he should have. If he was that damn good, he would have made chicken salad out of chicken shit and won more games than he lost. So he's just not a good head coach. And this talk about from Jeff Schultz and Josh Kendall, and I respect Josh a great deal. I don't know if I buy it. And Rick Flatford came on the show yesterday and said, Rick Flatford called me today and said, I'm telling you, shit's hitting the fan. So,
he did. Okay, well, that's good.
That's good enough. Yeah, because I heard the guy that called in your show 2 days ago, and he was like, "We just need to give him a little time, whatever." And he was talking about, he was like, "Well, they're, let's see," he was like, they've only lost a couple games by 3 points." But I'm like, dude, they beat the Texans by 2 points. They beat the Packers by 1 point. So they're really, there's only a couple of games that they could have lost to by 3 points. So he was making a point that they're close losses, but the wins are close too. So
my question to somebody like that, Andy, is: do you want this jerk and the regime picking the groceries going forward?
Yeah,
because that's what's going to happen. Yeah. If they stay on, they pick the groceries, and they ain't staying here long term. Period. He could go 0-5 next year, and he's out. And he's picked the quarterback. He's picked whatever, and we're stuck with it.
It's like today.
I don't want that.
It's like today. Someone tweeted out that someone was on NFL.com and said that Kirk Cousins' potential destination next year is Atlanta.
Falcons. Oh God!
You think I want a 36-year-old quarterback who's coming off a fucking torn Achilles injury?
Yeah.
I don't want Aaron Rodgers. I don't want Kirk Cousins because and I swear if they go after Ryan Tannehill, I'm done. Like, you got to be kidding me.
He will.
That's where they're going. They are wanting. They want Ryan Tannehill.
Boy. That's his Tennessee boys. And I said, if he's going to keep doing this, let's just ship Arthur Smith back to Tennessee and let him go up there because that's where he loves to be and coach those guys.
Yeah, I think they want Ryan Tannehill. I don't know why. Tannehill sucks. He got bit. That's the thing. They got benched. I just don't get it. I don't know what they're.
It's like, look, and I said this when Matt Ryan was coming toward the end, and people were calling up and they were griping about Matt Ryan, and I got it. And Matt Ryan would drive me crazy sometimes too. But when you go from a Matt Ryan and you got to find another franchise quarterback, it may take a couple of turns at the plate. Mm-hmm. It may not be the first one. It may not be Desmond Ridder, but you got to go back to the plate again and try to hit another home run with it. You got to go draft someone else and try to develop that quarterback. I don't know if this guy's getting any development. Who's the quarterback coach on this team? They got a former quarterback as the wide receiver coach. So what are they doing? Who are they? Who's developing?
You say all that, Bill. He drafted Desmond Ridder, and then he went and got Marcus Mariota and let him start 8 games too many. That's on Arthur Smith.
That's right.
So do you want this guy continuing to run the franchise and picking quarterbacks? He's a joke.
If they would have played Ritter last year and Ritter was bad, I would have said, you know what?
We would know right now.
It would be okay. But now you don't know. You still do not know what you got in Ritter. I mean, yeah, does he look like he's going to be the next Tom Brady? Probably not. But you would at least know if he was going to be a good, serviceable quarterback. And we still don't know that.
And even if it's the quarterback to get you to where you need to be until you find that quarterback, whether it is through free agency, maybe there is a free agent quarterback that's not 36 years old. I don't want a 36-year-old quarterback.
No.
You know, I don't want Matthew Stafford. I love Matthew Stafford. I don't want Matthew Stafford here in Atlanta. He's 36 or whatever the hell he's at.
I'd rather have Jacob Eason. Give me that guy.
I mean, it's just, you know, so yes, the picking the grocery, who's picking the groceries, which I don't know who's picking the groceries now.
That's the problem.
Arthur Blank. He's been picking them since 2001.
Who? Yeah. I mean, and it's like, where's that question? Why doesn't Jeff Schultz ask that question? Who is in charge? Who's making the decisions? Who made the decision to? Because if you ask dumb Arthur, perverted mustache, you know, predator, NBC, Dateline, Chris Hansen coach, he's going to say, well, it was a collaborative effort. Like, who's in charge? Who is in charge of that organization?
He's going to give you a 4.5-minute answer is what he's going to give you.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a waste of word salad like you're listening to Joe Biden. It's a waste. It's ridiculous. So it's like, come on, man. And I don't know. You hate to wish your team to lose.
Yeah.
But I think if they lose to New Orleans, that's it. I mean, they're 4-7. Then let him lose to the Jets. If he's not going to make a change in the middle of the year, okay, then lose every fucking game. Lose every game so they'll get a better draft pick. They won't have no dream about some sliding into the playoffs, because if they're 4-8 after that Jets game, I know the division's shit, but you can't slide in there with a 4-8 record with 5 games left. You'd have to win every game.
All right, I'm going to end with this because we're going to belabor this forever, Bill. Okay, let's say they lose next weekend, and I think they will. And he fires Arthur Smith. Do we trust Arthur Blank to bring in a coach that we can all depend on? You've been through the litany of coaches. He fired the one coach who had NFL experience as a head coach, Dan Reeves, because Michael Vick broke his leg. Since then, it's been Jim Mora, Mike Smith, Bobby Petrino. Who was after that? I'm sorry. Dan Quinn. And Mike Smith is probably the best of them all. Okay. And every time he hired a coach, we all had to look up on the internet, who is this guy? Where did he come from? Right. Yeah. When we had coaches there waiting to be hired. And I heard Andy called me earlier or texted me earlier and said, what about Bill Belichick? He's not going to do that because that overshadows Arthur Blank. So if we go through all this, Bill, all I'm saying is I think it's the same shit because Arthur Blank is the owner. And if he fires Arthur Smith, it's going to be some no name we've never heard of who has no NFL head coaching experience, who's his puppet, and we're right back here next year talking about the same damn thing.
Well, and you may be 100% right. I don't have any confidence in him hiring someone who's going to be proven, but you have to hope that if he does do that, it will at least be a truly good candidate. This guy was not a good candidate from the beginning. Nope. Arthur Blank said that when Arthur Smith walked in the room, he knew he was his head coach. How?
There's no way you can listen to that man speak and how he talks to the media and think that he's a good.
There's no way.
No, he's terrible.
With any kind of positive impression with the way he speaks, the way he has. I mean, did they think they were getting some Belichick type? Is that what they thought they were getting? I don't think that's right. And I remember D. Orlando Ledbetter coming on our show in the first year and saying he's making these people run laps like they're in high school.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
in the first training camp,
he made pro players run laps. Are you serious?
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, absolutely. D. Orlando Ledbetter said that, and so it's like. I just don't know how he could have originally been that impressive of a candidate. And that's what makes me come up with a conspiracy theory about, well, maybe his daddy had something to do with it. Because
of course it did.
That's all it was.
You have to wonder about that. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And you could talk about, well, how well he did at Tennessee. Okay, fine. But what about Eric Bieniemy? I mean, okay, Eric, others haven't. That was the one who I wanted. I wanted Eric Bieniemy. I remember me and Russ Brown, my former co-host, both seeing a video of Eric Bieniemy when someone asked him like 4 years ago, when he was being talked about as a head coaching candidate, and he just went on for like a 3-minute thing, and we were like, "Holy shit, that's our head coach."
He's the guy. Yeah,
he's the guy, and because he had the speech that you would have wanted someone to walk in there with Arthur Blank and make Arthur Blank say, "Wow, here's my guy." Now, is he not a good interview? Did he do well with the media, but not do? I don't know. But all I know is some dumbass who has the personality of a rock went in there and evidently won the damn owner over. And now he's there. And it's like, again, what positive thing has Arthur Smith shown in 2.5 years to make anybody think he's our guy?
And they should be.
What did he show
better
in Tennessee? What did he show in Tennessee as being this brilliant offensive coordinator by turning around and handing the ball off to Derrick Henry, the best running back in the league? Yeah. I can do that.
Yeah,
my wife can do that. I can bring her down here and say, "Do that."
And that's why when he was hired and we didn't know much about him, we were like, "Well, great. Is he bringing Derrick Henry with him?"
Exactly. Exactly right.
And he wasn't. And you know what? It damn well shows. And also the fact that somebody, whether it's Arthur Blank, Arthur Smith, or Terry Fontenot, has totally fucked up the way to form a roster by drafting 3 straight skill players when there have been offensive linemen and defensive linemen on the board at number 4 with Penny Sewell 2 years ago. And then you could look at Charlie Cross or Jordan Davis in 2022. And then Jalen Carter, who went 9th right after the Falcons did with the Eagles. But I mean,
Jalen Carter has character issues, though. He was in the community today, and he was showing off his character issues.
Who's that?
Jalen Carter. He was helping kids, and he was really showing his character issues. So I'm glad we didn't.
I mean, just imagine if we had those 3 linemen and how different this team would look. You'd still have Tyler Algier. You'd still have
who's a beast, by the way.
Who's a beast.
He's really good. He's really good.
It's real. I like Bijan Robinson, but I would have been fine if Tyler Algier would have gotten the majority
100%.
of the snaps this year. He was a 1,000-yard rookie running back.
And you got Cordarrelle Patterson behind him, so you're fine there.
And they haven't used him worth a shit this year.
And he's been posting about that. I mean, it's just Andy, in this show before I have a story.
All right. Well, yes, let's just go ahead and do it so Eddie doesn't die, because I don't know if he Bill's dead, Eddie's dying, blood pressure's high.
I'm not going to go that far, Bill, but it's misery.
No, but Matthew Perry may have watched the Falcons game before he slipped into the pool.
No, jeez. Oh my gosh.
Well, I don't know if we can come back on after that one. So.
That's okay. Nobody's watching after 73 minutes. Who cares?
I'll be there for you, Bill. Don't worry.
Okay.
So
nice pull.
Guys,
well
everybody
done.
That's watching, we appreciate you watching. If you could do us all a favor, just like it, subscribe to us, because every time you subscribe, Bill's going to say a cuss word. So there you go. We need a new subscriber right there. Well, guys, we appreciate it. For Bill and Eddie, I'm Andy, and we will see you guys hopefully next week. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Superstations.com tomorrow, 3:00.
Right there. See you guys.